The hour of 6:30 having come and gone, I will call to order the Common Council meeting of Tuesday, November 7th, 2023, and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Alder Miadze. Alder Miadze is present. Alder Rummel.
Present.
Alder Rummel is present. Alder Slack. Alder Slack is present. Alder Tischler. Alder Tischler is present. Alder Revere.
Here.
Alder Revere is present. Alder Vitiver. Alder Vitiver is present. Alder Wahelia. Alder Wahelia is present. Alder Bennett. Alder Bennett is present. Alder Conklin. Alder Conklin is present. Alder Curry. Alder Curry is present. Alder Duncan. Alder Duncan is present. Alder Evers. Alder Evers is present. Alder Field. Alder Field is present. Alder Figueroa Cole. Alder Figueroa Cole is here. Alder Govindarajan. Alder Govindarajan is here. Alder Harrington McKinney. Alder Harrington McKinney is present. Alder Knox. Alder Knox is present. Alder Latimer Burris.
Here.
Alder Latimer Burris is present. Alder Madison.
Here.
Alder Madison is present. Alder Martinez Rutherford. Alder Martinez Rutherford is present. Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. All right. As usual, I'd just like to remind us that we're here to do the business of the residents of Madison and ask everyone present to do that respectfully, with kindness, and to refrain from using any profanity. We have two honoring resolutions today. Our first is Legistar 80585, and for this, I will turn to Alder Martinez Rutherford.
To read this whole thing?
It's up to you, Alder.
I would love to read it.
Yes.
Whereas transgender and gender nonconforming folks are valued members of the city of Madison, and whereas the ongoing growing epidemic of violence committed against transgender and gender nonconforming people continues to climb and claim the lives of too many each year, and whereas from 2017 to 2021, the number of homicides of transgender people increased by 93%, and whereas transgender women of color are disproportionately victims of such violence, as 73% of these tracked homicides between 2017 and 2021 were Black trans women, and whereas many more incidences of murder and violence against transgender people go unreported, sometimes due to misgendering the victim, and whereas Felicia Melton Smith, a transgender woman from Madison, was murdered while on vacation in Mexico in May of 2008, and whereas Felicia was a dedicated activist in the Madison LGBTQIA+ community and was a fundraiser for the Madison AIDS Network and other charities. And whereas Felicia worked in the billing department for the University of Wisconsin Medical Foundation, and during her nights and weekends was part-time employee at Shamrock Bar and Grill, where she was known for her smile, jokes, and an annual holiday fundraiser that raised money for gifts for people with HIV and AIDS. And whereas in 2015, U.S. Transgender Survey, the largest survey of transgender people in the United States to date, found that 81.7% of respondents reported seriously thinking about suicide in their lifetime, and 40.4% reported attempting suicide at some point in their lifetimes. And whereas transgender youth report fewer depressive symptoms and less suicidal ideation and behavior when they are able to use their chosen names in multiple contexts and are validated and are supported by friends, family, and the wider community. And whereas Skylar Marcus Lee, 16-year-old transgender boy from Madison, took his own life in September of 2015, and whereas Skylar was described as an influential youth leader in Madison's Gay Straight Alliance for Safe Schools, who had a gift for addressing why racial justice and LGBTQ justice need to be part of the same conversation to truly be successful. And whereas Skylar was an active member of both Madison's Proud Theater and Madison's West Gay Straight Alliance, loved ballroom dancing, and was said to have an infectious kindness. And whereas every year we honor November the 20th as Transgender Day of Remembrance, a day meant to honor, commemorate, and memorialize those who face discrimination and stigma across the nation. And whereas this day focuses on the persistent struggles transgender people face in their everyday lives and how others can share their love, support, and hope. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the City of Madison declares November 20th, 2023 to be Transgender Day of Remembrance. Be it further resolved that the City of Madison remembers and honors the lives of Felicia Melton Smith, Skylar Marcus Lee, and the many other transgender and gender nonconforming community members that have passed over the years. Be it finally resolved that the City of Madison commits itself to supporting transgender and gender nonconforming residents of Madison and encourages all residents of Madison to resist hate and discrimination.
Thank you, Alder. I'll take that as moved by Alder Martinez Rutherford. Is there a second? Seconded by Alder Field. And with us to accept the resolution is Cass Marie Downing Mueller.
Hello, I'm Cass, and I am born and raised here in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm 51, and I've spent my whole life here. And when Dina had invited me here, I really wasn't sure, I really wasn't clear of the severity of what this was about, and it really is a serious thing. And I'm really truly humbled to be able to accept this in honor of and remembrance of my sister, Felicia Melton Smith, who I had met coming into the Rainbow community here in Madison when I was 15, 16, and homeless and forced away from my family because they just weren't ready to deal with me. And I really had no idea on how to deal with me. And I looked up to Felicia for many years and in many ways. And I'm really, truly grateful that I was given the honor of being able to call her my sister in my life for so many years. And I do remember the night that she left. And I remember seeing her across the room, and I wanted to go and say, you know, have a great trip and be safe. And she just had so many people around her because her personality was magnetic that way. And I never got the chance to tell her goodbye that night. And so this really is a very meaningful thing to accept in her honor. And Skylar, I knew Skylar as well. And I also had a little sister, Mindy, who was 18, who had made her own decision as well and committed suicide here in Madison. And so it is in honor of those three personal people that I've known, and in honor of unfortunately, a lot of other trans people that I continuously hear about being murdered or making the decision that they just can't go on for some reason or another, whether it be a lack of support or dealing with, being harassed. This really is very special. So I thank you for this. Yeah, thank you. And it's an important day for us to have, and I'm grateful to have it. And there are people that I won't forget ever. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we'll record a unanimous vote in favor. That will take us to item 2, which is Legislator 80590. And I believe Alder Figueroa Cole is starting this one.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Community Development reached out to have this resolution read at council, so here it goes. We are trying to have awareness of the homeless awareness month, and I will go ahead and start reading the resolution. So whereas on a single night in January 2023, 624 people in Madison-Dane County were experiencing homelessness in shelters or on the streets, and whereas annually close to 3,000 people are served in emergency shelters and transitional housing in our community, and many more live in unstable, double-up situations or in hotels. And whereas the number of Madisonians affected by homelessness is a significant community issue, and whereas homelessness has a tremendous impact on those who experience it, particularly children, and has been shown to inflict higher levels of emotional and behavioral health problems, increase the risk of serious health issues, separate family members from one another, and disrupt school attendance, often leading to lower academic performance. And
whereas there are many causes of homelessness, but chief among them are a shortage of available affordable housing, enduring poverty, the growing gap between soaring housing costs and stagnant incomes, health and behavioral health challenges, and domestic violence. And whereas people of color are disproportionately represented among those who experience homelessness, largely due to long-standing historical and structural racism reflected in housing segregation, poverty, and higher rates of incarceration. And whereas while issues around homelessness are complex and challenging, they are solvable. And
whereas we can address those issues not by blaming the people who experience homelessness, but by working to build a response system that is humane, equitable, and coordinated, and that is focused on the ultimate solution to homelessness, which is providing stable, affordable housing. And whereas the City of Madison collaborates with service providers and people with lived experience of homelessness to evaluate the homelessness response system and implement best practices to effectively meet the needs of our community. And whereas the City of Madison invests in all aspects of homeless response system, including the solution of affordable housing. And
whereas the purpose of this proclamation is to raise public awareness about the extent and the impacts of homelessness in our community, and to call on leaders at the local, state, and national level to eradicate themselves to take the necessary steps to make homelessness a rare, brief, and one-time experience for our residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor, Satya Rodzwe Kanwe, and the Madison Common Council, on behalf of the residents of Madison, Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim November 2023 as a Homelessness Awareness Month and pledge to commit this city to work towards its eradication.
Thank you. We'll take that as moved by Alder Figueroa Cole and seconded by Alder Curry. We do have Kaylin Golden from Urban Triage here to receive the proclamation. The rest I want a picture. Alder.
Good evening, everyone. I stand before you today on behalf of Urban Triage and the HSC Board to express my heartfelt gratitude for the recent resolution passed by the City Council declaring November as Homeless Awareness Month in the City of Madison. Your unwavering support and commitment to collaborating with various agencies have been instrumental in our journey to tackle homelessness in Dane County. Homelessness is a we problem, not a me problem. And today we are doing just that. Homelessness is a challenge that affects not just the individuals experiencing it, but our entire community. Wisconsin, like many places across the nation, is home to a growing population of homeless individuals, including a significant number of young people and families. It is a critical issue that deserves our attention and action now. Homelessness outreach is not merely about providing a roof over someone's head. It's about restoring dignity, hope, and opportunities. It's about addressing the root causes of homelessness, offering support, and helping these individuals find their way back to their housing stability. Your dedication today to this critical issue is not only inspiring, but also transformative. By designing November as Homelessness Awareness Month, you are shining a light on housing crisis that Madison is in right now. And by doing this, we are encouraging our community to come together, support initiatives, and work towards solutions. The City Council has taken an important step today. The recognition of Homelessness Awareness Month serves as a reminder that homelessness is a right, not an option, not a choice. As a community, we can work together to address this issue effectively. I want to thank you again in support of homelessness outreach agencies and the individuals they serve. This resolution will help us in our efforts to provide visual support, raise awareness, and ultimately make a lasting difference in the lives of those experiencing homelessness. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. We have one registrant on item 2, Doug Jenkins of District 12, wishing to speak.
I am so happy that the city is finally brought awareness to homelessness. I've been a homeless advocate for 9.5 years. I'm the homeless veteran advocate for the state of Wisconsin, VFW. There's money's here. There's people here to help with this situation. It sounds like a bunch of people here want to do something, eradicate homelessness. Awesome, awesome. Like I said, the money's here. There's a person in this state that pledged 99% of her billions of dollars for warmth and shelter, for warmth and shelter. We need to talk to her. She could help us. I'd love to be on the committee. I don't know if there is a committee yet, but I'd love to be on that committee to eradicate homelessness in the city of Madison. It'd be awesome. Be awesome. So that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for the registrant? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion, Alder Figueroa Cole?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the speakers today. I just want to just point out, last night, the county passed their budget, and as you know, my feelings about honor resolutions. I really like to, if I'm going to do that, I really like to have some teeth to it. So I just want to point out that last night on the county budget, they passed $100,000 of ARPA funding for the family shelter, in addition to another $231,000 for the Sire Road shelter, and $124,500 of general funds funding for that, as well as they supported us on providing $226,000 of ARPA funding for Dairy Drive and $174,500 for in addition to that, from the general funds. The mayor put also in the budget $300,000 for shelter operations, and we are working on an endowment to try to raise to be able to maintain the operating cost. But this is what it matters to me. I think the past 2 years, we have put a lot of effort into helping this population, and of course, it's not enough. I was personally starting to lose a little bit of sleep because most of, or if not all of our efforts were based on ARPA funding, and that is going to be depleted pretty shortly here. So I encourage us to continue to get serious about finding money to allocate from the general funds to shelter operations on future budgets. So again, I want to thank the county supervisors, especially Heidi. I can never say her last name, but for her support to get this funding. And in addition to that, there was capital funding for St. John's, which also is a targeted area for low-income housing. So I know we don't have this level of money, but we have to get serious about finding money to support shelter operations at all levels. So thank you.
Thank you, Alder. No other alders in queue wishing to speak. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we'll record a unanimous vote in favor of item 2. That will take us to disclosures and recusals. Are there any disclosures or recusals for items on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll go to the presentation of the consent agenda. President Curry?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A consent agenda is moved with the recommended action listed for each item on the agenda, including public hearings, except 1, items which have registrants wishing to speak, 2, items which alders have separated out for discussion or debate purposes. This document lists extra majority items, agenda items with recommendations different from the agenda, items for exclusion, items introduced from the floor, and agenda items with corrections. Agenda items that are extra majority before us tonight, extra majority vote items will be recorded as unanimous votes unless a roll call or exclusion is requested. Agenda item number 37, legislative file number 80664, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an amendment to lease with the owner of property located at 441 North Lake Street to accommodate the existing encroachment of the owner's building into the city's adjacent Lake Street parking ramp. It's the report of the city attorney. Agenda item number 40, legislative file number 79981, approving a certified survey map of property owned by the City of Madison located at 415 North Lake Street, a report of the Department of Planning and Community Economic Development. Agenda item number 41, legislative file number 79987, approving a certified survey map of property owned by Dennis Sands located at 4522 through 4602 Packers Avenue in District 18, also a report of the Department of Planning and Community and Economic Development. Agenda item number 42, legislative file number 80613, reapproving a certified survey map of property owned by Wisconsin Housing Preservation Corporation located at 3401 East Wash Avenue in District 12, also a report of Department of Planning and Community and Economic Development. Agenda item number 43, legislative file 80273, amending the Parks Division's 2023 adopted capital budget to authorize the acceptance of $54,800 from the Madison Parks Foundation and approve the purchase of one 15-passenger van for the purpose of supporting the NO program in District 18, reported the Finance Committee. Agenda item number 44, legislative file number 80295, amending the public health budget to accept funds for court-ordered restitution to public health for animal care. Report of the Finance Committee. Agenda item number 51, legislative file number 80348, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to amend the 2023 capital budget and execute amendment number 1 to the existing purchase of service contracts between the city and Sasaki for consultant services for the Lake Monona waterfront. Also a report of the Finance Committee. Agenda item number 56, legislative file number 79552, reapproving the final plat of the University Research Park Pioneer First Edition replat subdivision on land generally addressed as 602 through 1202 Boyer Street, 601 through 1103 Boyer, and 8825 Nelson Crossing in District 1, reported the Plan Commission. Agenda item number 57, legislative file number 79554, approving the preliminary plat and final plat of the Village at Autumn Lake replat number 7 on property addressed as 2124 through 2216 and 2111 through 2223 Waters Edge Trail and 5 through 25 Spittleberg Circle in District 17, report of Plan Commission. Agenda item number 58, legislative file number 79980, approving a certified survey map of property owned by Karen Peterson located at 5116 to 5118 Spring Court in District 19, also a report of the Plan Commission. There are no agenda items with recommendations different from the agenda. And at this time, no items indicated excluded by request of alders or speakers registered by 6:30 on November 7th. Items to be introduced from the floor is legislative file 80719, approving the 2024 operating plan for Madison Central Business Improvement District, which includes Districts 2, 4, and 8 by Alder Verveer, which will be referred to the Downtown Coordinating Committee of 11/16/23, returning to the Common Council on 11/21/23.
Thank you, Alder. Are there any additional items that alders would like to have excluded from the consent agenda? Oh my. Alder Rummel.
I would exclude item 63 since there's two different versions.
Item 63. Thank you, Alder. Alder Harrington McKinney.
Madam Mayor, that was also my exclusion, and I'd like to be added to item number 5480325. Thank you.
Did you get that? Yep, the clerk will add you as a sponsor to that item. Alder Slack.
Item 93.
Item 93. All right, are there any additional items that alders would like to have excluded from the consent agenda? Alder Miadze.
Not excluded, Madam Mayor, but added to number 43, please.
Item number 43, Alder Miadze will be added. Alder Govindarajan.
Thank you. I believe item 93 is referred just for introduction.
Yeah, I was just checking on that, Alder. Thank you.
Thank you.
It is? Yeah, so Alder Slack, it's not for exclusion tonight. Any additional items that folks would like excluded? Seeing none. Let me go quickly over that again. So items 37, 40, 41, 42, 56, 57, and 58 are all 14 vote required items. And then items 43, 44, and 51 are all 15 votes required. We will exclude agenda item 63, and we have one introduction from the floor. Seeing nothing else, then President Curry, a motion on the consent agenda.
Move to adopt.
Moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we'll record a unanimous vote in favor. And if your item is not item 63, it was adopted, and you're done for the evening. And then we will move on to item 63. Item 63 is Legistar 79974, amending sections of the Madison General Ordinances to reduce the time allotted to each alder for discussion and debate. On item 63, President Curry, a motion, please.
Move to adopt.
Moved and seconded to adopt. Are there questions for staff on item 63? Seeing none, then is there discussion? Alder Duncan.
Motion to move the alternate.
Alder Duncan moves an alternate, and Alder Figueroa Cole will second the alternate. Alder Duncan, do you wish to speak?
Yes. The reason for my alternate this evening is centered around the allotted time that we've provided to our constituents during public comment. They are given instructions to limit their comments to 3 minutes. As I've listened to the constituents speak over these past few months on the council floor, I've been continually impressed at how concise members of the public are in their comments. I think in part that their speeches are effective because we've asked them to think through what they wish to share with us to highlight their arguments. My proposal would grant alders the same amount of time on each agenda item for an initial speech of 3 minutes, and it would grant an additional 3 minutes for further discussion or rebuttal. If 3 minutes is enough time for the public to address us, then 6 minutes should be enough time for me and my colleagues to debate and discuss with one another. I also believe that if we expect our constituents to be concise and focused in their remarks, then we should hold ourselves to the same expectations.
Thank you, Alder. Is there any further discussion? Alder Slack?
So this is just pertaining to debate, not for the question period, is that correct?
Alder, I'm not sure if that's a question for the city attorney?
It
Correct.
says debate, but I just
Right.
want to be sure.
It is debate and discussion, not questions.
Okay. So the only thing I would say is that sometimes things come up that we haven't prepared to speak to, in a way that someone coming to the council may have spent a lot of time preparing to be concise. So I think I'd rather err on the side of shaving it back a little and not quite as much, with the option to revisit this in the future. I just worry that we're going to hamstring ourselves to not be able to fully discuss and hear each other's points of view. Although I do agree with it being shorter.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Evers?
Thank you, Mayor. I spoke about a similar change that was proposed having to do with the questioning during CCEC. And with all due respect to both these motions, I won't be voting in favor. And here's the reason. As I understand, and I appreciate the need for us to have shorter meetings, but we can still have shorter meetings if we come here prepared, if we resist the temptation to go on, to engage in kind of performative displays, and stick to the business. If we discipline ourselves, let me just say, in the 4+ years I've been on council, it is rare that someone speaks for more than 6 minutes or often more than 3 minutes. The times that very controversial items like the F-35s or Edgewood, there were longer debates and longer discussions, and I think that's appropriate. But I guess I would feel better about imposing this discipline through policy changes on ourselves if I felt there was a shared commitment to come to our meetings prepared, to get our questions answered from staff ahead of time, which would certainly shorten our meetings. Having done all that, and if we still find our meetings going long, much longer than they should, then I might support new rules. But let's just exercise self-discipline. And I think if we did, the problem would be solved. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Harrington McKinney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would have been 100% in support of the alternate. But I listened in on my fellow alders' explanation of exercising self-discipline. And that spoke to me because what it said is that we can monitor and should monitor ourselves. We were elected to do that, and I think that we can. So I will not be supporting either the alternate or the original because I trust that we're all adults and that we can exercise self-discretion. Oftentimes, we already know how we're going to vote, but we go on and on and on in those discussions. We have so much ahead of us that we have to tackle, and our constituents expect something from us. And it really is time for us to stand up as elected officials and do the right thing. We don't have to go on and on and on and on to make a point. And so I am erring on the side of this council can and will stand up and exercise self-discretion, no cuss words, no inflammatory words. And Mayor, I would ask you to hold us accountable. I know that you've tried, but let's try it again. So I will not be supporting either one of these. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Bennett.
Thank you. I wanted to share why I sponsored this and was also introducing the other one about limiting times for questions. And I think that part of being effective at this role is also recognizing when you can do things better and more effectively. And one such time of that is when I was sitting in this chair and questioning a whole round of developers. In that time, I was very well prepared. I had a whole document of questions to read from. And then I read those questions and blinded by, I don't know. I didn't know if I was speaking for 10 minutes, 20, 40, or if it was 5 or 2. I had no idea what time was. All I remember is the mayor saying, Alder, can you like wrap it up? And then looking around and being like, oh my God, you all abandoned me. So that sucked. But in reflection of that, I think that asking ourselves to exercise self-discipline and actually realizing self-discipline is easier said than done, especially when we don't give the chair any guidelines as to what our expectations are. And I see this as an opportunity to lay those expectations of very, very clear and concise expectations of what we want speaker time or for alders to speak for, rather than just letting it kind of be up in the air, especially when we don't really have good measures of holding ourselves accountable. We don't have timers at our desks, or I don't know, the only clock is up there on Zoom, and that's really hard to keep track of. So maybe if not this, then maybe we can provide ourselves easier mechanisms to track our time and how long we're speaking. But in general, I think it's good to have expectations as a body for how long we want to speak. So yeah, that said, I do think that 3 is a little short and maybe it's too steep of a transition for right now, but I understand where you're coming from, and I agree as well.
Thank you, Alder. For the record, that was just under 3 minutes. I have no other alders in the queue wishing to speak. Alder Figueroa Cole.
So I don't, if anything, I'm glad that we're having the discussion and it's a frank discussion. So I'm 100% in support of Alder Evers' comments, but we have said that so many times before that it's hard for, you lose faith on ourselves, keeping ourselves accountable. So, and I know that we all have lives to live and we all have different ways of learning and preparing, but I know that there's people in this council that works very hard to get here. So it really is very tough sometimes to come so well prepared and just picking up the slack. So I appreciate the willingness to have the discussion and to commit ourselves to do better. But I also would really like for us to use that clock over there. Like that clock should be visible. And I know the Zoom is a little bit harder to manage, but we should be able to use that clock as a reference and as a point of connection to we're speaking, we can see our own time going down. Can we just make that work for us as a tool? That really, I feel that will be a life, a good positive impact on the council. So either way, I mean, I try to, when I have something to say, I do try to write it down because I do want to stay under the 4-minute limit. It has been a commitment for me to stay under that. So I try to write my things down so I don't go around. I didn't write anything down today, but I'm glad that we're having the conversation about it. And whatever we can do to get that in a place that we can all see it and get reset every time we speak, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Now I have no other alders in the queue wishing to speak. And just for the record, nobody went over 3 minutes. A lot of 2 minutes, but. So what's moved is the alternate, anticipating some disagreement. All those in favor, aye. Those opposed, no. As your name is called, and the clerk will please call the roll.
Thank you. Alder Miadze. I'm sorry, Alder Miadze, no. Thank you. Alder Rummel.
No.
Alder Rummel, no. Alder Slack.
No.
Alder Slack, no. Alder Tischler.
No.
Alder Tischler, no. Alder Revere.
No.
Alder Revere, no. Alder Vidver.
Aye.
Alder Vidver, aye. Alder Wahelia.
Aye.
Alder Wahelia, aye. Alder Bennett.
No.
Alder Bennett, no. Alder Conklin. Alder Conklin, aye. Alder Curry.
Aye.
Alder Curry, aye. Alder Duncan.
Aye.
Alder Duncan, aye. Alder Evers.
No.
Alder Evers, no. Alder Field.
Aye.
Alder Field, aye. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Aye.
Alder Figueroa Cole, aye. Alder Govindarajan. Alder Govindarajan, no. Alder Harrington McKinney.
No.
Alder Harrington McKinney, no. Alder Knox.
Aye.
Alder Knox, aye. Alder Latimer Burris.
No.
Alder Latimer Burris, no. Alder Madison.
Aye.
Alder Madison, aye. Alder Martinez Rutherford. Alder Martinez Rutherford, aye. 10 ayes, 10 noes.
With 10 ayes and 10 noes, the item fails. We're back to the main motion. Is there further discussion? Alder Rummel.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought about this a lot, and most of the time, people don't speak for over 3 minutes, or 6 minutes, or even 10 minutes. But I do recall recently where I made a motion and I felt I needed to motivate it, and it took me several minutes to make the motion and then explain why I thought it was in order. Then there's times where, as Alder Evers said, there's, controversy either in your district or, before the city, where you hear new information or there's a nuance. And I would rather, considering this is where we do the business of the city, we don't do it in the back room. We don't do it always in committees because we don't go to all the committees. We can't manage that. This is where we do our local democracy. And I just want to make sure we spend the time that we need using self-discipline and preparation, definitely, but why limit ourselves? I don't see the problem we're solving other than learning when to stop talking. I mean, maybe that's what we need exercises in. And with that, I'll stop talking. And and so again, I don't want to do governance through sound bites. That's my little thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Curry.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to speak up and be brief because originally when this amendment was proposed and how we've discussed it at CCEC, I was in opposition, kind of similar to comments Alder Rummel shared, as well as Alder Evers and Harrington McKinney, of trusting that we can do the work. I think tonight, hearing from Alder Duncan and putting in retrospect the constraints that our constituents are upon when they come to speak to us, knowing that we have the power and the ability to request more time if needed, makes me more inclined to ground myself in the experience of a constituent and their experience speaking in front of us, as well as trying, knowing that we can change if it doesn't work. So I am going to support this, and I'm hoping that possibly colleagues who are thinking that this is more of a constraints and limits are thinking about how to self-control and make them concise and prepared. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. No other Alders in the queue wishing to speak. So on the main motion, all those in favor, aye. Those opposed, no. As your name is called, and the clerk will please call the roll.
Thank you. Alder Miadze. Alder Miadze, no. Alder Rummel.
No.
Alder Rummel, no. Alder Slack. Alder Slack, aye. Alder Tischler. No. Alder Tischler, no. Alder Verveer. No. Alder Verveer, no. Alder Vitiver. Aye. Alder Vitiver, aye. Alder Wahelia.
No.
Alder Wahelia, no. Alder Bennett.
Aye.
Alder Bennett, aye. Alder Conklin. No. Alder Conklin, no. Alder Curry. Aye. Alder Curry, aye. Alder Duncan. Aye. Alder Duncan, aye. Alder Evers.
No.
Alder Evers, no. Alder Field. Aye. Alder Field, aye. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Aye.
Alder Figueroa Cole, aye. Alder Govindarajan. Alder Govindarajan, no. Alder Harrington McKinney. No. Alder Harrington McKinney, no. Alder Knox. Alder Knox, no. Alder Latimer Burris.
No.
Alder Latimer Burris, no. Alder Madison.
Aye.
Alder Madison, aye. Alder Martinez Rutherford. Aye. Alder Martinez Rutherford, aye. We have 9 ayes, 11 noes.
With 9 ayes, the item fails. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Are there any additional introductions from the floor or announcements? Alder. Alder Figueroa Cole, was that your announcement?
No, it wasn't.
Alder
No,
Figueroa Cole.
I actually just want to extend the information that Karen presented today at CCEC on regards to watching the videos for the new blog. They are actually pretty short, quick, and a lot of information there. So I advise you all to take a look at them. It's only like 4 or 5, and it will be a life-changing on your blog, on your blogging experience. What? It's very good, I'm telling you. Adding a picture is like, oh my God.
Thank you, Alder.
Don't ask me for help, just. Actually, when you ask me for help, I'm gonna say, watch the blog, watch the video.
Alder Miadze, it's your turn.
Yes. Move to adjourn, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we are adjourned.